My my dislike and disrespect for, at the time that the friendships of Alan and Cassandra converged on, there was a day that they eyeballed each other off, and I confided at Cassandra about dislikes of the Uniting Church and of the church in general. But that Cassandra's line, if you were older, or if you were only a few years older. But then what went on after her boyfriend had been accusing her of having fucked me, and this response, say that one more time and I will, was offensive, because just it meant that rebound isn't even the right term. Gavin offended me a lot in 2010 with basketball shit. But that what she was, I guess, saying to her own boyfriend was, I'll get back at you by anyway, it was enough to lose. But then Alanie's statement was worse, more presumptuous and more hypocritical and fucked up. I mean, I'll wait for you, little Lukey, she said. And this is all without saying, are you happy to talk about the topic of relationships? After saying to me, Jesus died for you, and doing the deliberate guilt trip. The guilt trip's her only excuse, because the more I've thought about it, while I would try to sing along with these church songs, and I would cry. She, on the other hand, can only claim to have first met me at my stepfather's funeral, held in the same building, where I was absolutely crying. So unless she thinks that was beautiful, which she might if she was on the run from fucking... I mean, her having no blood ties to this step family of hers could mean she could do whatever the fuck she would want to do with any of them, especially if over age. Just no reason she wouldn't is if she felt biblically shamed. And as a mascot for the Bible, it's a bit she should be ashamed. She should be ashamed for accosting the kids of using threats of eternal torment. That's taking and investing into the, thoughts of under the surface, Earth's surface, everyone's worst fears. Now, accostings like that, and where she's saying, sign contracts to say that you won't have sex prior to marriage, believe you're inbred, and that that you were created through inbreeding, and that's perfect. If she could then appeal to her own adoption as her out, well then she should also take on board the personal responsibility of being her out and hers alone, not why she should make the kids of... It's almost like there's elements of, I didn't get to be with my parents or have my parents together, so I'll make the kids of in families whose parents are together feel sexually sick. But her degrees of presumption and her presumptuous statements were an absolute utter... she hadn't even asked me if I liked... she hadn't even asked me what I thought of the relationship with her. So, she'd either be saying... Because she would call it beautiful if I'm trying to sing about songs about Jesus' murder, and would find it hard to sing along to, and often resorted to making fun of songs if they were songs where the lyrics... there is the fact that the genre of church music is in itself, like Hillsong, that style, an offense to the very word music. But when the lyrical nuances are about Jesus' killing being a necessary and good, and something for which everyone has to be thankful, grateful for, I would either be doing things like making laughs out of those sort of songs, but if the songs were about, you know, the humility of this person, and I'm thinking of Jesus' humanity, I would be emotionally moved to tears. But I was never happy with his killing, and I never repeated her phrase. Neither two of her catchphrases, "Jesus died for you," which is part of her "You Owe Me All," "Watch Me Try and Doppelgang the voice of the Queen." This should be easier as she gets older. Catchphrase, "Everything happens for a reason," is one of hers, which is, bend over for the monist police state mentality, because you're the one who's now claimed to believe in psychology and evangelical Christianity as a dual force. By your own admission, your only way to further nourish and grow your relationship with your own Lord and Savior is to be the courtship competitor to a whore, or else disbelieve in your own Bible, and therefore not be an evangelical Christian with any integrity, or to ignore the subject and not be into psychology with any integrity. But the way that she talked was so loaded with assumption. "I looked good enough to eat" was one line she'd said to me when I visited Melbourne. The things she fucking thought. And so I've since worked a whole lot of things out. In the religious thinking mind seems to think that if they say something and you say nothing, that they have essentially they have on your admittance somehow the desired answer to what, or the desired response, because it's often not even constricted to questions, or accusatory questions, nor is it followed by the question, why is it that you are now being silent? So so Cassandra and Alani's minds were never appealing enough to be a turn on. They both had a social butterfly popularity. Cassandra, I didn't see for the toughness she had to have assertive independence enough to make saying something like, if you were only a few years older, it just seemed weird. Calling a kitten under 6 months of age a slut cat also seemed weird and sickening on some level, and disrespectful. So yeah, I know that they could get under my skin and really piss me off if they were to try and even imply to me that I've got to have it by merit of a woman's face as to whether or not she's of any significance to me.